Well, we're very good friends, and we decided to make music together. At first, we weren't sure what the configuration would be exactly because we are multi-instrumentalists, but wanted to explore other avenues. And for me, I hadn't played drums in a heavier project for a while, and I knew I wanted to do that. And Kayhan hasn't played lead guitar in a project before, and I don't know if that's something you were like dying to do, but it is something that you're doing now.
What's up, everybody? It's Keefy at GhostCultMag.com. I am super stoked to be joined today by Rae and Kayhan of Wretched Blessing. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I am hanging in there. It's been a dumpster fire. First and foremost, I feel like we've set the clock back a few years. Is everybody okay over there? Because it's been an unusual and hard year, I think, for everybody, harder than we expected.
Yeah. I mean, if we're talking about like the whole COVID has like just carved years out of people's memories, that, and then, yeah, of course, like, you know, the world is a hellscape constantly. What can we say?
Yeah, I just have a hard time pinpointing what year things happened, but overall just seems kind of like the steady decline ramped up a little in 2020, but it's still pretty par for the course, as they say.
Yeah, it's just a different flavor of chaos, I think.
Well put. Everything is on fire and nothing is okay, but we're just trying to be okay, and I gravitate to the things that I love, which is music, especially gnarly, uncomfortable feeling music like your release. I love this EP. Congratulations on this release. It's out now. We'll link everything in the description so everybody can find you and do all the things that we're supposed to be doing. But, you know, first and foremost, I just wanted to kind of like dial it back for a second. Rae, I know you a very long time. Kayhan, I've been a fan for a very long time, but we don't know each other. So just like, what was the genesis of this project? Obviously, you have many other bands people will know you from, your own projects, guesting on other people's things, touring. How did this particular thing come about that, you know, gave us this EP?
Well, we're very good friends, and we decided to make music together. At first, we weren't sure what the configuration would be exactly because we are multi-instrumentalists, but wanted to explore other avenues. And for me, I hadn't played drums in a heavier project for a while, and I knew I wanted to do that. And Kayhan hasn't played lead guitar in a project before, and I don't know if that's something you were like dying to do, but it is something that you're doing now. It was just kind of a very natural thing to make music together as a general concept. As for when we finally decided to do it, we sort of like made a deadline for ourselves because it's something we really wanted to make happen and have happen, but we just kept, you know, becoming busy with other things, other projects, other non-music related things. So once we made a commitment to actually do it, it happened really quickly. And like, we're already looking forward to writing more music, recording more music, hopefully before the year is out.
I figured as much. I figured this is not, I want to say that it was a stress to me that this is not a side project. This is not one of many projects. This is an important band for the both of you.
For sure. Oh, yeah. And like, you know, we had jammed and like kind of gone to the practice space and written things and like not fully formed songs, but I think setting a date, which was the show at the end of last year, kind of like lit that fire under us. It was like, okay, like let's form these songs. Let's get ready to play a show and record. We have to do it because we've set this date.
Yeah. Someone made a poster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It actualized it. Yeah.
Once you have the flyer, it's on. There's no coming back.
Real.
Usually, unless there's some you know, an illness or a force of nature, or a tornado or something.
Right, which always could have happened, but we got
which can happen. I remember that I was like on my way to a concert somewhere, and I remember hearing about that tornado that hit you know, south of Chicago.
Oh yeah,
and it like devastated me to the core because I know so many Chicagoans and good friends and music scene and band people, and I was like, who is at that show that could have got hurt?
For sure. Absolutely. I think everyone was saying that. Yeah, that was bizarre.
You know, you always feel bulletproof at a show, and I go to so many of these things, and you know, just like so scared. But you know, I'm sad for anyone that lost their life or got injured at that, which did happen, and it was tragic. It was Morbid Angel, right? Just whoa. But you know, this project, I wanted to start here with composition because it is such a like, it's not I feel like you have like both of you have kind of a composer-ish makeup to you both when you write songs. So I feel like there's definitely like a hint here. It's unexpectedly cinematic is a word I would, a phrase I would put on it. I wasn't expecting it to be, it's heavy. It's all the things it touches, all the check marks, but I love how it's composed. I love like the thoughtfulness that went into writing these songs.
Thanks. Rae definitely has more of a background in music education, way more formal than anything I have. So I can't speak to that necessarily, but I think it's okay to write songs in a way that makes sense and is like catchy in a way without, teetering into the world of pop music or anything like that. I've always loved just composing music. I remember having this program Tabit when I was in high school, which is just like a guitar tablature program, super simple, uses like MIDI sounds, but like just writing songs in that, that weren't even for a band I was playing with at the time. But yeah, I've always been interested in doing stuff like that. And it definitely comes through in the music I write. And of course, like Ray's coming at it from that angle, but also an actual musical composition angle, I guess.
It's cool though, because I haven't written any non-Immortal Bird stuff in a really long time. I put out like a little solo EP in 2020, but other than that, it's been all Immortal Bird. I haven't really touched that other project. So this was fun to just come into without having to think of it with any sort of a predecessor, any kind of preconceived template. So I've really enjoyed that. So in that way, the writing process has been unique because I approach Immortal Bird in a very specific way. And this is just very different, but in like a very free sense. Like I can't really speak to the formula yet because I don't have one yet, but writing for this has been surprisingly easy and fun, and Kayhan is really, really fun to collaborate with. He comes with really, really good ideas and he has a good way of articulating the vibe and the overall feel for a song, which is cool because it kind of gives you an idea without making it seem like you have to be constrained in any kind of a way.
Right. And of course, doing a different project or a different band frees you up and, gives you different approaches. And obviously you don't have the same group of people to collaborate with. So it's new and it's, keeps it exciting for you because we don't want to ever get stale in what we do. By the way, Rae knows I was a huge fan of that EP. I bought that EP on day one. And I maybe that's what's kind of left over on me is that imprint from that EP a little bit too, how much I loved it and listened to it constantly. Like I had 3 records I listened to that year. That was one of them. Laura Jane Grace's EP that year and like a solo album from the Alice in Chains singer. So like that's all I listened to for like the worst of the worst time. And it was very healing and good for me. Just me, just a little bit of me right now. And, we all used our mechanisms to get through. My roommates were doing drugs and throwing parties, and I was like in my room cowering and listening to music. I don't know. But anyway, I don't live there. I live in California now. I live in San Francisco and moved from Brooklyn to California. So good for me. Another thing I wanted to talk about was production. Both of you have, produced your own stuff before, co-produced things, had at least a hand in the sound of your previous work. What was the production aspect like on this? Because it seems like very, self-contained and DIY too. I
mean, I have to give Pete Grossman like tons of props. Like he was definitely a huge percentage in the production of this EP, whether he knew he was going to be or not. Made it super easy to figure out how we wanted stuff to sound in his studio at Bricktop. Super helpful and I think only interjected when he felt like he needed to, which is super, super awesome. And not having someone overstep or feel like they're kind of dictating how something's going to sound.
No, like in a super caring way, in a sort of can't help but bring your work home with you type of way. Like there were little tiny production things after we had already signed up on masters where he came to us and was like, actually, I've listened to it a lot on like a ton of different sound systems in many different contexts. And I think blah, blah, blah. And it was like, yeah, let's do that. Thank you. Like Pete is amazing. He also played a big role in the Errant recording. He's recorded My Throssenblatt drums. He's recorded Immortal Bird. He's going to record Immortal Bird in May when we do our 3rd LP. He's awesome. He helped so much with this. So yeah, like he definitely gets some credit. Like we both are very DIY and we are going to explore producing, have our little home studio recording type project things. But this definitely was not that. Like Pete had a very big part in how it sounds.
There is a track we did.
There is a track we did.
The little sample interlude thing that was all us, and also speaking to like, starting a new band and a new project, the first song, the kind of intro song on the EP, was kind of something that we liked, not necessarily for this band at first, but then we had the idea of like, hey, we have no recordings, no one's heard this band yet, and we were playing our first show. We were like, let's play this first as an intro and still kind of keep people waiting to know, like, what the hell does this band even sound like? Like, playing that intro, I feel like people were like, is this a metal band? Is this band even heavy? Like, what is happening here? But then it ended up being a good kind of primer for the EP too.
Yeah, I kind of like the way you can hear the realness of the room, if that makes sense. Like, it sounds like there's two people in a room starting to play, and then when Spurious Ovation kicks off, it's more like, yes, this is a production, this is a track. But before, it's like, it's all taking place in this room, and it opens stuff up in a cool way, and I think that's a Pete thing too. But I do like how that was written so early. Like, we jammed on that for so long before we ever thought about putting it in Wretched Blessing, and I think it works.
That's great. Thanks for unpacking that. By the way, I feel like Is This a Metal Band could be like a meme about all Chicago metal. That butterfly meme. Is this a metal band? Yes, it is.
Their
essentially.
guitar is black, so it's a metal band.
Yeah.
Yes, clearly. But thanks for unpacking that a little. We're going to jump into the track by track in a second. But before we do, you mentioned a flyer before, so it made me want to ask about the artwork again. Really distinctive, cool artwork, like almost a little cut up, like super 60s, 70s style to me. A very avant-garde kind of thing. But like, what was this impetus for this artwork?
Well, I've always loved this artist. She goes by Kicky's 1313. She's done all of the Immortal Bird covers with the exception of a live EP, and she's done artwork for other bands, although predominantly she, has art more in the gallery, tabletop book, dark art kind of space, not necessarily just known for band things. But I love her work so much, but it's very distinctive. So I figured if I was doing a new project, it might not make sense to go with her art because it would be too consistent or in keeping with something I've already done. But I saw this piece of hers, and it's super different from her other stuff, but it's still that grotesque, intricate, really beautiful, detailed, like human imagery, and then the cool collage type aspect, which I haven't seen in her other stuff. So I was immediately drawn to it, and Kayhan really liked it. And neither of us thought that it was too reminiscent of anything I've already used. And she's such an incredible artist. I do think that, I guess all artists are underrated, or at least most of them are. So I'll say she's underrated, but I do think that she is appreciated by those in the know for that kind of artwork because she's so prolific and has been churning out beautiful stuff for so many years. Whatever she wants with her career, I want for her because she's amazing.
Agreed. I will make sure to link everything in the description for them, Instagram, website, whatnot, so we can help promote them because that's important too. All right, moving on to the track by track. So the EP kicks off as we started discussing that instrumental sort of opener, Incubation, which is a very good title for an opening of anything.
Yeah. Like I said, that was just like a little riff idea I've had for a long time. Like, I've probably jammed that riff with like 3 different drummers in the past 10 years, just kind of like, what do you hear when I play this? It kind of reminds me of like not something in the metal world, like almost like a Lungfish song or like a weird like 90s Discord records band. But I mean, it's tuned down lower and kind of has this ominous presence on this record. But yeah, I think it's a great opener and like kind of gets your ears some time to adjust and is a palate cleanser in a way, especially if you've been listening to other heavy, loud garbage. It's the primer track for sure.
Right on. I love that you said Discord because my brain went to like AmRep and 4AD, but that's like almost, 6 of one, half dozen of my mother. The track we all heard before the EP came out, Spurious Ovation, is next.
It is.
This one came pretty organically, I'd say, in the practice space. I think that was like very intentionally like, let's write a song, like I'm not going to take a riff I've had kicking around or even an idea that we're building this around. It's just kind of like, we just went. And then it came together pretty easily. Like I think we kind of both traded off riffs on that song.
Even the little time changes that we added to certain chunks came pretty naturally, because it does take time to like establish a musical vocabulary with a new person. But we did communicate those ideas, I think, really well, and that came together really quickly. That's not exactly what I'm hearing in my head, you know, but like you're super close, like do this, and then it kind of clicked. Yeah. It was the first one that came together, and we have the most practice with it, so I don't know if we were always like, it'll be the first single, but it always kind of felt like the lead track. It has a lot of different stuff in it, and we wanted to make sure that people knew that we're heavy, you know, and we are going to play kind of fast. Basically, I don't know, I think that I'm just traumatized from being called Doom in various projects that are not Doom, but maybe play a little bit slower for like a little bit, but not enough to maybe constitute that genre tag. So I was just trying to like, let's avoid that at least right out of the gate. So yeah, it's a speedier one. It does have, you know, a more atmospheric little section, but we wanted to kick things off a little more aggressive. Yeah,
definitely intentionally wanting to avoid the doom and sludge classification. I feel like in the last 10 years or so, that's like almost become like shoegaze, you know, just like this blanket term that gets thrown to something that has like a slow part or like distorted bass on it. It's like, this is a sludge band. I'm like, I don't know. All right, sure.
Try not to concern ourselves with micro genres, but you know, also maybe trying to avoid certain pitfalls that we've seen before.
Right on. I love hearing you on the drums. That's how we met and became acquainted. And you know, you love to hear it. And imagine having to live down projects you did off and on, or little snippets of a song, and then have that chase you your whole career when you're so multifaceted about drumming or anything else you do. Imagine that. But you know, you know, just people are. Anyway, it's probably critics. It's probably critics and fans are terrible. Pseudoascencion is the next track.
That one. That's a Kayhan one. That one really put me outside of my comfort zone drumming-wise. I did not come up in a punk background, sadly. That would make me feel a lot cooler about my youth. But yeah, you know, just kind of like a pop, rock, jazz, R&B, pretty standard. I was going to say ascent, but I'll say descent into metal kind of stuff. But I skipped the whole like getting good at D beats part of learning how to play heavy music. And that's come up a few times over the last few years. But this song has a bunch of that, and it has a different kind of D beat feel even than I'm used to. So Kayhan and I had a lot of conversations, and I'll call them conversations. A lot of calm, productive, healthy, challenging conversations about like what I was playing and how it was not fitting exactly with what the riff was. But finally, like a week before we had to record, not in time for our first show, but a week before we had to record, I like got it. And I was worried I wouldn't get it in time to be good for the recording. But long story short, it did come together. I finally got it. It felt like when I was a little kid, like figuring out how to read or something. But it was good. It was like a really good experience. And I really like that song, not only because of that, but because of that too. And also lyrically, it's a close subject. We're sort of talking about the same thing from two different perspectives, and it is a critique of the healthcare system in America and the mental health care that we have established in this country. But yeah, it's like, you know, kind of a deeper one, but also just a really fun one to play too. Like, we've only played one show, but I can't wait to play that one live, like a bunch.
I feel that topic matter so deeply on a personal level in 2024. You have no idea how hard it's been. Don't get sick if you can help it. Actually, take care of yourself. I didn't maintain this temple at all, but you take care of yourselves out there, because you do not want to have to depend on the system to take care of you. So the aforementioned interlude, Here on Earth, is next.
That was all Rae's idea, basically. As far as the clip goes. I don't know. I don't think I had seen Spy Kids 2 until I was shown this clip by Rae. But I'm a fan of it now. And like, what a relevant thoughts, I guess, for, the year 2024.
Right, like ever since I heard the quote, and I am a huge fan of the original Spy Kids. Yes, Alexa Vega imprinted upon me as a young person as just like the person I wanted to be. And when the second one came out, I remember being really, really hyped, like right up until it came out. And then I know I saw it in theaters, but I was super preoccupied with like, what is Alexa wearing? What is she acting like? What is happening? Like, so I wasn't really paying attention to like the plot or whatever, but I remember it and it kind of was like, whatever. But then years later, I heard that Steve Buscemi quote out of context. I like heard it and I was like, what is that from? What movie is that from? Is it from like Boardwalk Empire or something? Like what? But no, it's from Spy Kids 2. So I looked that up. I thought, wow, that's awesome. And I sort of filed it away because I think when you make music like this for long enough, you're sort of always thinking about sound bites that would be funny to go into like a grindcore song or whatever. So, everyone has their little like, oh, that thing from season 1 of True Detective, or like, oh, that episode of BoJack Horseman. And I was like, cool. I'm going to put that Spy Kids 2 quote away. And then it just seemed like really, really relevant. So I wanted to use it for this. And then after we wrote the lyrics for Anathematic, I thought, oh yeah, this is awesome. It's going to go really well into it. It's not just like getting shoved in there. Because I was down to just shove it in there for fun. But it actually fits really well with the progression of the album, I think, which is like part luck and also part intention.
I like to think there's a little bit of Alexa Vega in all of us. And Anathematic is actually my favorite track on the record. It's got like that crazy Jesus lizard riff that I can't get enough of. It's crazy. I listen to it like on a loop over and over. It's such a crushing track. Oh my gosh.
Rae wrote the main riff, the riff you're talking about. I remember like coming home from work and Rae was like, I wrote a Wretched Blessing song, and I was like, that's fucking sick. Let's fucking, take this morsel you've written and stretch it out a little bit and turn it into a song. I think it's my favorite track on the record too. Yeah, that riff, the lyrics are very important to both of us. It kind of like the Jesus lizardy, kind of like that bend note, like kind of came naturally to me after hearing Rae play the kind of like bass riff of that part. But yeah. Love that song too.
Yeah, compositionally speaking, when that first riff happened, I knew that in order to extend it and make it into a full song, I wanted to change it up a little bit, and that's like when I employed the kind of Immortal Bird song structure-y thing of taking a riff and then moving stuff around a little bit so that you're still in the key, but you're working kind of in that scale, but in a different way. Yeah. So just a little variation there, and and Kayhan, did you add anything to that second riff? I feel like you added something, but I don't know. I like it. It feels like it evolves. It feels like it evolves over the course of the song, which I always like. And as Kayhan said, the lyrics are really important to us. Both very, very pro-Palestine and very against Zionism, especially the American form of it.
What a time to be alive in not the best way. I did not expect things like that. That conflict or Ukraine to still be going. I thought it would be somehow resolved by now. I don't want anyone to be harmed anywhere in the world. War is evil, and I don't understand any of this shit except it's more of the same. Rinse, repeat.
Yes. It's like the world is constantly at war now.
Yeah, it's a horrific cycle, and this is just what the world is paying attention to right now, but it's happening in other places, and it continues to, and it's just unfettered murder.
For those confused by what we're talking about, I have only one book to recommend, which is The People's History of the USA by Howard Zinn, because that is my Bible for all things in the history of how we do war and how we operate in other fields of politics in the world that has nothing to do with our land. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox, everybody. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Anyway, Mirror Vulture is the last track on the record. Oh my gosh.
This is like, I don't know. I feel like most of the tracks kind of cover a lot of ground, like stylistically. Like I feel like if you like skipped 20 to 30 seconds ahead in every song, you'd be like, is this the same song? Yeah, I guess it does. It's in the same key. It kind of sounds like this part goes with this part, but it's like kind of switching it up. So this song does kind of start off in a doomy, the stonery metal world.
It does.
Then, kind of builds up with like a kind of war metal type thing. you've got hardcore, grindcore there. The ending is definitely like, to me, feels like a heavier hardcore, metallic hardcore song, like something like Integrity or like Turmoil or even like Strife or something like that, like a heavier 90s hardcore band. And the lyrics are just about, you know, like the kind of behind the scenes bullshit that happens kind of in any music scene, but closer to us, just, you know, people and cronyism and handshakes and here's this money for this and I'll take that money for this and yeah, empty promises, you know, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm like, it's not even money most of the time. It's these weird, like, vague, esoteric promises of some sort of elevation, but it's not even like, you know, I'll give you this for this. It's like, I might say this or do this around this person if
if you scratch my back, then maybe I'll scratch your back 3 years from now, but maybe not.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Which is like, you know, I don't want to participate in that. And obviously, like, the business side of all of this art and music is shitty, you know, like I understand why it exists and, you know, how the music industry works, but yeah, this is our little tip of the hat to that, I guess.
Yes, a tip of the hat.
Right on. By the way, it's 2024. Our composers, bands, artists, don't be scared of tempo and key changes. Like, we've had thousands of years of music to do this, and like, you can change a key and you can change tempos and in a very organic way, and it doesn't have to be like, let's have a bunch of tempo changes. No, like, naturally write music that way. It's okay, everybody. It's okay.
Yes, it is. It is.
And it's also okay to rip off cooler bands from the past if you're gonna do it well, but like, pick a lane, like, choose, like, please, focus and put some care into what you're making. Even if it isn't a super inspired, brand new concept, but just like, go forth with some intention and like some care from within you. Like, it has to be somewhat of a labor of love, right? Like a little bit, like even this much, please. So yeah, that's what I am imploring the world. Right.
We're begging you all. Just, that was great. Thanks for unpacking all that. Again, not always something everybody wants to do comfortably, but I appreciate your enthusiasm for my inane passions and questions. Just a couple last questions for both of you. So we talked about shows. Is this something you can take on the road? Have you been offered any festivals? Because I imagine this would be a killer playthrough at a festival or something cool.
We definitely have plans to play shows and tour. We have our first Chicago show next month at Empty Bottle. Definitely want to tour by the end of the year, maybe this fall. No sick festival offers yet. I love your passion and thinking that this would be sick at a festival.
You're supposed to say that we're fielding them. We're just so, like,
of course.
We have been inundated with incredible
fielding
offers.
Yeah.
It's just a lot to get through, but
yes, this is very intentionally going to be a live band. Played our first show as a two-piece, playing our next show as a two-piece. I don't know if this band will eternally be that. It will probably be that as far as writing and recording goes. But I'm not sure if we did like an actual tour, if it would just be the two of us.
Might be fun to have a live bassist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, absolutely a live band.
Sick. I can't wait. We're going to put it out into the universe. Metal and Beer Fest, Northwest Terror Fest, both of you have done. Any of those things would be fine. You know, let's make
not in the United States.
Also, Roadburn, you know, we were formed to cover Roadburn, so we just did Roadburn again for the umpteenth year in a row in our history. So like maybe Roadburn or something like it. Yeah. Let's make it happen. Let's get you back to Europe and do all the things. I always like to end these interviews with a wild card question, and I picked one out especially for everybody. So having just spent some time last year briefly in the Midwest a couple of times, I was definitely charmed a lot more this go round. I think as I've gotten older, I appreciate things a little better than I did when I was young and dumb. What is the best and worst thing about living in Chicago, since the both of you are technically transplants, although Ray's been there a long time?
Oh, okay. For me, the best parts are just your access to so many high quality, really cool things and the creative scope. Like, there's awesome museums, there's great galleries, there are really talented artists doing all sorts of multidisciplinary things, putting on shows all the time that I am only starting to scratch the surface of as someone who's been here for a decade. Musically, the venues are always evolving, and that sometimes means, you know, things go up and down. But there are so many venues that offer so many opportunities for bands, big and small, who play all different kinds of music. And I think that's unique to Chicago as well. Like the Empty Bottle is a legendary venue, and you can be one of the biggest artists in the world and play there, but you can also be a brand new band and have your tape release show there. They are very open to things like that, which is cool. And that's an attitude that prevails, I think, overall in Chicago at most of the places you can play. Another good thing about Chicago, really, 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 really good food. I don't want this to this is going to go viral, but I will say that people that are freaking out over all the recommendations that stem from the Bear need to chill out. Pizza Lobo is fine. Kasama, really good breakfast, brunchy type stuff, but dinner, like, have you seen how expensive it is? Please. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. So great food, great art, great music stuff. That has been a thing for a long time and is still a thing. The worst things, traffic and construction and gentrification and police brutality and corrupt government officials and, your standard Chicago stuff, racism, but, we're hanging in there. Chicago is overall pretty cool, and I will say the housing is still somewhat affordable, especially compared to other cities of its size with its similar offerings. Hope that helps. Kayhan?
Like legendary music scene, obviously, at every level, DIY spots to bigger venues. The food is incredible, like any type of food, like, Chicago food, but like the international food scene here is insane.
Shout out MK Noodle. Best pho.
It's our favorite Vietnamese place. Shitty stuff. I've lived in Birmingham, Alabama, and Nashville, Tennessee, and I've also just traveled all over the place. But yeah, the traffic here is fucking awful. Driving around in the parking, like the little parking violations and all the kind of like speed camera turning right on red situations. I will say that feels crazy here, like the kind of surveillance state that Chicago feels like in certain areas. I'm like, wow, like I think 2 cameras just took a photo of me and I'm only driving 30 miles per hour through this area. But I do love living here. Like overall, I think it's an amazing city still. It definitely has terrible things happening in all aspects, but
the lake is
it's awesome.
pretty.
Yeah, Chicago's great.
Yeah.
I concur on all that, and I'm sad to say I did go to Mr. Beef because of the Bear, but I also love the Bear, and problematic and great all at the same time, and anyhow, great show, and also Chicago pizza just trash. I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. I'm from New York. I'm a snob. I can't help it.
Like deep dish pizza? Deep dish gross.
Yeah, it's gross. It's a cake. It's not a pizza. And
New York pizza is obviously completely different, but the cracker crust, like tavern pizza, is the legit.
I had the tavern crust pizza in St. Louis, and it surprised me how good it was. I was like, okay, I could do this if I lived here. But anyhow, thanks for sharing all that. You guys rule. And I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to chop it up with you, and especially to see you after a very long period of time. Rae, I hope in person again sometime soon at a show. Either I get out there or you guys come on tour and I catch you, or our team catches you somewhere in the city coming soon, here or in Europe. That's my wish for you both. Thanks so much for Wretched Blessing, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
See ya.
Bye.